Welcome to the Fortify Your Data podcast. I am still in my house, which looks very much like Ohio. We are still trapped in Zoom, but that's afforded us to talk to people from all over the world. And today I have Dana from identityprotectionplanning.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I wanted to start off by just having you introduce kind of what you do, how you got started, and really what identityprotectionplanning.com is all about.
Okay, so identity protection planning is there to help people learn about identity theft protection and become aware of cyber crimes. So we do that in a variety of ways. And now that because of Zoom, it's actually helped the business because there's so much education that's needed in helping everybody, kids, adults, seniors, to learn about how to protect themselves from identity theft. And now we can do little videos and send them to people very easily. They can watch it in the comfort of their own home. So that's been something that that we've really been doing a lot of lately, is either working specifically with financial advisors or insurance agents, done a bunch of webinars for employees, employee education. So that's kind of what we do. And I think this is only the beginning, unfortunately, because this identity theft industry is probably only in the beginning. So
it is definitely booming. Now, have you're pretty active on LinkedIn too, which is actually how I initially saw you, and you had a lot of interesting things to say about recently about like kind of the dark web in terms of identity thefts, kind of using that. Or just data thieves in general. Have you ever had any firsthand experience with fraud?
I have not had any firsthand experience. My brother did. This is like 4 or 5 years ago, he was signing up for a health savings account or something, and they denied him. And so he wanted to know why, and he had to dig and dig and dig. And it turned out that somehow his name was on the terrorist watch list. So he had to clean that up. And that was kind of when I first was like, ooh, this is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Good that happened, but that's what got the wheels turning. And that's kind of where my passion started, looking into it. And I really do like learning about all the different things that are out there.
Yeah, well, I don't know anyone who's not on a terrorist watch list of some sort, but as far as like what got you interested in it initially, then have you always been, I guess, because you haven't always been in tech, right? So what made you kind of move into this kind of outer circle of what can be described as cybersecurity?
Yeah, I am definitely not a technical person, and I never tried to be a technical person. What I try to do is take technical information and dissect it and then put it in layman's terms so everybody can understand it. Because it does get technical very quickly, and then that's when you start to lose people, and our brains just shut off once we can't understand something. So that's kind of what I do. But how I got into this was I had an insurance agency, and we wanted to start offering identity theft protection to our clients. And there was nothing out there that was B2B that we could then offer to C. Everything was direct to consumer. So we got together a software team in California and created our product. So that was the first thing that we did. Then we created a platform for where, if somebody had a pool of clients, let's go back to the insurance agent, and they want to offer identity theft protection to their clients, they get a co-branded website, and then they can offer it to them either at a discount or they can earn a commission on it. So that was the beginning. And then when that got kicked off, that's when I started to realize how much people really do not know about the risks that are out there with identity theft. And so I was a little intimidated to do my videos on LinkedIn, actually very intimidated, because I thought, this is such a serious topic that if I go out there and they're like, who's this goofy lady, doing these videos on this serious topic, it's going to take me seriously. So luckily that hasn't been the response, but I think I've helped a lot of people, regular people, non-technical people, learn a thing or two.
No, I think that, honestly, I think that what you're doing is fantastic because, the last 10 years of going to cybersecurity conferences over and over and over, the narrative is always every employee is a risk and employee training is the first step. And I never see normal people at cybersecurity conventions or even really tech conferences or whatnot. So nobody's really reaching them. And if like I used to just configure ASA firewalls, no one really wanted to talk to me about like not clicking on links in their emails.
Mm-hmm.
So there still is a huge deficit of people educating everyone else in the company. You know, your entire company isn't your IT department, but your entire company should also be security aware, right? And that's still today, you know, that this is something that we preached 10 years ago. It's something that we preach today. And you know, your videos, particularly on LinkedIn, are just delightful to see, because I also see the activity you have on it. And I see people that are managers, receptionists, just accountants, all sorts, just saying, I like this video, you know, this is helpful, this is beneficial. So I guess I want to compliment you on that, but also,
Thanks.
where do you go from here with them? You know, do you have kind of a plan? I mean, you have a pretty heavy regimen. I guess, how do you keep with it?
Meaning, how do I come up with new videos?
Yeah, and where do you go? I mean, you have a very extensive library already.
Well, what I do too is I have a calendar. So about every 4 months, some of them start to repeat because
Okay.
I have so many of them.
Yeah.
And then what I do is I plug in, some new ones that I come up with along the way. And then I'm also taking my content, taking those videos and turning them into articles, and then turning them into some audiograms just to break it down so people can see it in a different format. I don't think this is going to end for any time soon. I mean, I did a video last week, I think it was, on Bitcoin people on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They just seem to be everywhere. Every time you go to your connection request, there they are, right?
Yeah.
And the video went crazy. People were commenting, and it was almost like everybody had like a cleansing that they could tell their story about, all their Bitcoin connection requests that they've been getting. So
yeah,
that kind of resonated with everybody.
It definitely did, and I'm definitely a Bitcoin person, though I'm not much of a LinkedIn spammer. But I did find that funny. I still love the dark web one, because that, I mean, people don't understand that's still thriving, and it's still a very big part of a lot of people's lives.
Yep.
And I guess to that end, you're starting to gain traction. You're getting attention. Do you worry about people trying to hack you?
If you're not cursing me. Well, yeah, I mean, I think we all need to have good, cyber hygiene, password management. That's one thing I always tell everybody. So maybe I'm a target out there. I don't know. I'm just trying to help people. So hopefully I'm not, but
well, that makes you a target for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I guess if you're going to be in the public spotlight, you have to know that's going to may happen.
Yeah. And, just stay vigilant. Cyber hygiene's huge. Making sure that everything you have is kind of behind some layer of security at the very least. When you so I guess, to take a step back, what you're more of a consultant then for cybersecurity. What do you mainly help with? I guess, what are your leading products, so to speak?
So what's happening now is that different industries, this is obviously affecting almost every single industry, right? So, but different industries that need some kind of training program for either, it seems like their employees. So they'll contact me, and then they educate me on what the specific main cyber issues or, identity theft, crime, whatever is going on in that industry. And now we're starting to make videos up that are similar to my LinkedIn style, short, to the point, and maybe a little bit of humor, not as goofy as some of the LinkedIn ones, but then they can then show it to their clients. So I'm going to get quite an education on a whole bunch of different industry issues when it comes to fraud and cybersecurity crimes.
Do you think that, do you foresee yourself doing some sort of like course seminar then, or
that's actually,
that evolves?
That's something I'm working on. It's not done, but it's putting together some courses where people can go online and just sign up, pick a topic that they want to learn about, and get it.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because a lot of the courses that I have seen, especially that I've seen marketed at conferences and whatnot, have been very technical. And they claim that they're like they're non, but then it turns into, I mean, they start talking about like mail protocols, and I'm like, you've already lost.
Exactly.
You've already lost a bunch of people.
And that's the thing, the problem is getting bigger and bigger, and we're throwing more and more money at it, and it's not working. And I think it's not working because the way the message is being delivered, it's not getting through to the regular people. These are regular office people that have an email that are causing the problems. And as soon as you say something technical to them, they don't know what you're talking about. They just want the conversation over. That's all they're thinking about. They don't want to learn on how can I help the company? How can I make sure I'm not accidentally doing something. Like look at some of these spear phishing or social engineering situations that are going on with wiring money. Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, she had a situation where she was doing business with a company in Germany, building hotels, I think, and her office manager got an email requesting $400,000 for furniture. And then she sent the money, contacted Barbara's assistant to let her know that it had been done. And the assistant said, "What are you talking about?" And they went and they looked, and the email address was off by one little thing, and it was a Chinese IP address. So that money is gone, never to be seen again. So
yeah, I mean, do you find that there has to be an event like that to get companies to wake up, or even like approach you? I guess the companies that have approached you, have they all kind of suffered a major event to make them be more aware of what can happen, or are you finding people that are actually being preemptive?
There are definitely industries that things have happened. Like one is a credit card, which, as we know, that's always been a big problem. That company, and then the other one we're working on recently was municipalities, educating the people that work in municipalities. So I think everything is pretty reactionary at this point to this industry, unfortunately. And what I'm hoping is that some of these, especially the small and medium-sized businesses, because they don't really have any plan in place, that they can at least do something proactive, at least start the conversation. It should be part of the culture in an organization. If you have an organization of 5 people or 500 people, it should still be something that everybody's kind of, aware of, talking about, and looking at when they're getting an email, questioning if someone's asking you to do something, that kind of thing.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So you deal with a lot of like horror stories. Have you dealt with any companies that I guess, scratch that. I'm going to edit that part out. As far as your experience with being in insurance, do you still feel like to hit an insurance policy, cybersecurity is exceeding the minimum needed security? And what I mean by that is a lot of times security policy or an insurance policy for security will require a baseline of like, you need these many firewalls, you need this level of protection here. Do you find that's adequate right now at an industry average, or do you think that's inadequate?
So you're talking about cyber liability insurance for companies.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that there's a big variety from what the level of requirement is, depending upon the carrier. They vary all over from exactly what you're talking about, all that detailed stuff, to some that you don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. So, when the chickens come home to roost, that's what we're going to find out,
Yeah.
Who's got enough coverage. But I don't think just buying a cyber liability insurance policy is the right thing to do. Obviously, it's going to help, but I think that should be the step one while you're getting, your house in order and coming up with some training and protocols.
I agree. And so I guess that's kind of the battle of coming from the technical side. There's been several people that are like, well, we have insurance for when it happens.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing you got to think about too, though, is that never mind the financial aspect of, what the insurance is going to reimburse. Let's just think about this. So maybe somebody suspects something's going on at work, right? And you got some kid in the back room who's on Twitter telling his 20,000 followers, "Oh, I'm at work and I think we're getting hacked right now." That's not good either. So you have to, talk to your people about what kind of message you want to send out there. If there is a message you do or do not want to send out there to the public, and everybody has to be on the same page with that.
Right. I guess that scales at the size of the company too, because there's more people that are harder to control. Mm-hmm. Do you find that companies have policies in place to control what their employees say about their company on social media?
That's a very good thing. Good question to bring up. No, I don't. I think that's another reactionary thing. Somebody will have something that will happen where maybe an employee's doing inappropriate things, and then that's when the policy gets put into place, because it's not something that they're thinking that they need. The other policy that they really need to put into place, and I'm coming up with something, and it's called CYA, right? Yeah. And it's called Can You Answer? And it's because when you have something, you have a data breach, and the FBI comes in, and the first thing they're going to say to you is, can you answer a few questions about how you were protecting the data before the breach? And the answers are going to dictate probably if that company is going to be in business in 6 months from now, because the fines and fees that are going to come along with, well, we didn't really have any specific plan in place, we thought we were doing something, that's not going to fly. Ignorance is not justified or going to do anything to help you. But if you can say, well, this is our training protocol that we have for our employees, this is what we do, that conversation is going to go completely differently. So
Yeah. I guess I haven't experienced that many that many I guess unprotected companies come in, because usually I'm doing the protecting. But you'd be surprised how many people will say no to VPNs. You know, they're just like, that's too complicated. I want to type in my password for a VPN. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is how you make money. This is your vehicle. I worry about that a lot. I even recommend for companies that are still in the office and not somewhat virtual to use a VPN when they're in the office to the main server. That way, even when they are at home, it's the same protocol of going into that VPN, but just ignoring the benefits of just that added layer of security. Is it going to protect you against everything? No, but it's at least encrypting, your connection. And I think that there are many things like that at a baseline the companies just refuse to do. And that
that's the big thing, is that passwords, it's always a path of least resistance. Nobody wants to do two-factor authentication because it takes an extra step. Nobody wants to change their password because then they have to remember a new password. It's all these little things, and a lot of it has to do with we're lazy by nature. We don't want to have to go out of our way to do something. We want whatever's going to happen the fastest, but that's what we want to have it done. It's like when you download an app, right? Oh, you really want this app, so you go and download it, and then it needs access to your microphone. It needs access to your contacts. It needs access to your photos. And none of that has anything to even do with what the app is, probably like a flashlight app, right? But that's what they're doing, because they're getting their data. But people, they're like, oh, I don't want to give this. Oh, forget it. Here, have it. And they just click away and download the app.
Yeah, and when you go on to like if you're on Google or an Apple and you look at like what apps have access to your email or your phone, most people have this laundry list that's just like, yikes. People need to just be aware of those things, especially if they're like phones that they use for work. Now you have a cyber hygiene quiz on your website, correct? And so does that cover a little bit of those can you answers, or is that something different?
That's something different. That's more like going into a company and putting a specific plan together for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So as far as where you see the future of identity protection, particularly I'm more interested in mid to small size companies, because they have nothing in place. So you go into like an enterprise level company, they're going to have at least some plan.
Right. Yeah.
It might not be the best plan, but they'll have something.
They'll definitely have something. Yes. Yeah.
But I mean, we deal with companies that have 50 or less employees and they have nothing.
Right.
What percentage do you estimate have something in place today, and how do you think that's going to change, the next 5 years? And has that changed since COVID?
Oh, I would say, I mean, I don't want 90% of small businesses, medium businesses don't have any plan in place. If I had to guess, just by, looking around, I think what's going to have to happen is eventually, it's again the reactionary thing. Something happens, and maybe something's going to happen to someone they know whose company, and then that's going to make them say, "Oh, we don't want that to happen here." But I don't know. It's still trying to convince people that this is really an issue. Maybe they're starting to get it. I don't know.
My guesstimate numbers are probably in the 90s of smaller mid-sized businesses that have no plan, and I think that I'm blown away that I've been helping companies migrate to virtual offices, so to speak, and they just want to cut every corner that they can, and I'm just like, this isn't how it's going, because cyber crime is going way up, and you can't be passive anymore.
No.
So again, that's why I appreciate people like you out there just being like, hey, listen, this is happening, this is a thing, because people are much less willing to listen to me than they are to you, by and large, at least non-technical people.
Yeah, that's the non-technical people.
Right. And then I'm preaching to the choir when it's like, yeah, man, I configure firewalls all day. And it's like, I know. So I guess as far as like your career trajectory, do you like dealing with the more, you're basically doing cybersecurity, you're doing the front lines of it. Do you like that more than the insurance industry, or I guess how are they
definitely,
different?
Definitely. I've actually shifted more away from the whole industry, still have the agency, but the focus now is all about cybersecurity. And, if we ever do decide to offer cyber liability, maybe down the road, we might do that if we team up with somebody. But I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great to hear, because I do think that I don't see people specifically doing well, we have insurance, so we're not going to do any security, but I do see a lot of that. We're going to do the bare minimum, and a lot of these cyber policies that I'm seeing aren't adequate. Um,
Mm.
it kind of goes into like data center tiering. There's tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, but like the worst data center in the world is like a tier 1. So they'll still say, well, we're tier 1. It's like, well, you're still like not, you're a garage.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the base you need, to get coverage in the data center world. And I see that just kind of across the board, and that worries me.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
oh,
my biggest thing, I think what I would like to get into is helping these technical people explain it to the regular folks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like a translator. That's where I see my role moving forward, is helping these technical people that know they're not able to get their message across the way that they're doing it, and to find a way that we can get the message across.
How do you plan on doing that in the short term?
Well, I've had a lot of people reaching out to me directly saying, listen, here's the situation. This is the industry. These are some of the main issues. Can we put something together? And so that's what we're doing. They're reaching out to me to come up with something. And then we're going to either have it be short videos, have it be a webinar, short little training sessions, that kind of thing, a variety of those things. So I haven't had to do anything really too proactive in that regard. I think LinkedIn's been huge. I love LinkedIn. I'm a big LinkedIn fan. Everybody should be on LinkedIn.
I agree.
I've created so many amazing relationships. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm really bad at keeping up with social media in general, as the people on Twitter will often say, because like, are you still doing podcasts? I'm like, forgot to put them on Twitter. My bad. But I think that LinkedIn is such a great tool. I do think it's a lot better than it used to be. There are a lot more spam bots now, but it used to be kind of like a Facebook too, and they've really cleaned it up. At least my feed has been cleaned up quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very powerful networking tool.
Yeah.
I wish that conferences were still going on. Did you do any conferences pre-COVID in terms of like teaching or anything like that?
No. People were asking me, and I don't have the time. I can't travel. I can't talk,
Yeah.
I can't get on a plane and do all that. My life is way too busy for that. But this is what's so exciting about this whole thing, is that everybody is getting more comfortable with Zoom style meetings. And that was a huge transition, that a lot of people were forced to become familiar and comfortable with Zoom. And now they are. So there's going to be some good things that are going to come out of this. And I think virtual classes is going to definitely be a huge thing.
I agree. Have you had a lot of experience with like Zoom scammers or like phishing through Zoom emails, or have you avoided those?
I have not. People message me all the little horror stories, about Zoom, and I did a funny video on that, on the Zoom bombing.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't done anything specific.
That's fantastic. It would be a good idea is if you took like you took all the horror stories people tell you, and then you just like put them in like this short little blog or book or something, and be like, these are all the funny stories that have happened to other people.
That's a good idea. That is a good idea. I mean, I can't even believe some of them that they message me, that they tell me. And some of them I feel like they feel like they have to tell somebody, but they don't know who to tell, so they just send me these big long messages.
Well, you're the cybersecurity spokesperson now. That's what it is. I mean, and it's like, I think that scams today are so different than like, I remember in the early 2000s, there was a free dolphin screensaver virus that was very popular because everyone wanted like these 3D floating dolphin screensavers, which is dumb, especially now. But like, and I remember I couldn't believe it then. I still can't believe that it was, because for a while it was the most proliferated virus, that so many people were like, I need that dolphin screensaver, I'm going to download it. And then, an hour later they were reached out to by their family member that was also a Nigerian prince, right? Yeah. That's how people used to be scammed, and it's much more sophisticated now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find that to be very like very strange that the scams have advanced, but our protection hasn't. People are still just clicking on links willy-nilly.
No. Yeah, and then you look at the Internet of Things. You look at all these devices that are connecting. I mean, I think there's like 25 billion devices connected or something like that, which is crazy because you know what? These are regular people that are buying these things. They can't wait to get it out of the box. And all they want to do is just plug it into the system because they want to start playing with it. So that's not good either.
Well, and everyone that listens to the podcast has heard this ad nauseum, but I still think that like there's a device called the Wi-Fi Pineapple. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. So it's a tiny, it's basically a router, but it can run software off of a SD card, but it comes preloaded with a man in the middle attack, a Bluetooth like key receiver, so you can unlock your car with it. You can get into somebody's house from their smart fridge. You can unlock garage doors. You can go and set a captive portal at a Panera, and it comes preloaded with all those things. And the cheaper version of it's $100. I recommend getting the $300 version, which is the Tetra. But still, it's one of those things where like a lot of people ask me like, well, how is this legal? And I'm like, well, it's just a router that, I mean, it's illegal what you do with it. You know, you can't go into a Panera and use it. But also, like, if you have it running in your backpack, how would they know?
So wait, what does it do? So you can unlock somebody else's door?
Yeah. So it can brute force like basic encryptions. You can go on GitHub and download custom made things from people. So, like for example, I did an experiment where I had downloaded. Somebody made a perfect Panera like Wi-Fi thing. So you create it up, you set it up. It has an SSID that says Panera free Wi-Fi, and then people have a choice which Panera free Wi-Fi do they want to select. They select yours. It pops up and it says enter in your email and password to continue. You enter it in. Chances are they're going to send you the password they use for everything else to set it up.
Yep.
And then you have it. But because it's sort of a man in the middle of attack, they're still getting internet. So they think that they just went onto an actual like Starbucks or Panera website. And that's just one of the things. It can also, if you're familiar with Wireshark as a tool, that can just sniff packets from networks, which is why people say don't connect to public networks and go to your banking websites. It can, yeah. I mean, you can store, you can sit there and just brute force like Bluetooth connections. So like the innocent thing you can do with it is you can steal. You can listen to what somebody else is saying on their phone or like their headphones. Like if I wanted to hear what you were listening to, like music wise, and I didn't want to share a headphone with you, that's an innocent application. A nefarious one might be getting into somebody's Ring doorbell or opening up somebody's car. And so actually the podcast that I just released with Chris Wentz at Every Key, he has a device that's essentially the same thing, but it only is a key. And it's marketed towards people so they could use a key for their house, for their car, for their Bitcoin wallet, and so on and so forth. But it's the same physical hardware. And there's another thing coming out called Flipper.io. That's a hacking tool that does even more. And the bigger antenna you get on these things, the more they can do. So, and these are things that are like, every one of these tools is less than $500. Most of them are in that $100 range. And the scary thing about the Pineapple specifically is that it's pretty like it's pretty user friendly. You don't have to be technical. You click on it as a graphic interface. It's all like, if you can set up a Facebook profile, you can brute force a WEP connection pretty easy.
That's really scary.
Right. But that's why I tell people, everyone to go on, it's made by a company called Hack5. I tell them to go on hack5.org and buy one, because believing is seeing it. And I'm not sponsored by Hack5, though I would love to be, because I talk about them just about every podcast. But it's one of those things where like it can do so much and you have to know so little, because I'm not like a coder by design, and people will run their own scripts, or they'll say, hey, I have this script to get into Tim Hortons, right? We don't really have any by me, but like if I'm traveling and I want to hack into a Tim Hortons, I guess I can. So
well, I should probably get one of those, and then I could do some videos showing people how to do it.
Yeah.
When they see, they'd be like, whoo, wait a minute.
Yeah, you just make sure that you have permission to get, like, because I actually used to hook it up to my phone, and then I'd cast my phone to the projector at conferences, and then people are like, oh, you're hacking us and showing us. I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not like, yeah. And they're like, we don't like that.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, I wouldn't try to hack into anything. I would just try to show them how to set it up.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. I guess my thing is, when you turn on that screen and you show every device that's on the network, And then, you know, you're not like showing their personal photos or anything, but you're showing them like, I know what you guys are doing. I could see the traffic. Like I could see what each individual phone that's connected to the Wi-Fi is pulling from the internet. And so like
Wow.
if you download like if you right click and download a picture from Wikipedia on your phone, or I guess hold click, I can see that that photo was downloaded, and I could even tell you which IP address that was downloaded to. And that's with
Wow.
a program that's default on the Wi-Fi Pineapple. So just
Wow.
like on the preloaded, no SD card needed kind of deal. Now you can't store anything without the SD card, but still, what it can do is the main point, right? I think that's the thing that you need to be aware of, or just people need to. These are tools that anyone can buy for $100. You
Hmm.
know, yeah, and the ones that are $300, $400 are more intimidating because like I could be down the street.
Oh my goodness.
You know, but that's the thing that limits you. Like you have to be in the Panera with the base model. But if you have the Tetra, I could be, you know, in a mall down the street and I could connect. And I think that's what people have to be more vigilant about. And that's why I always say use a VPN, even
Mhm.
if you're on your home. I mean, if you're doing something that requires performance, like right now I'm being hypocritical because like we're doing a video thing that I'm downloading and I'm not using a VPN because I don't want it to hinder the transfer of bits. But like
Mhm.
if I'm just even if I'm just using normal browsing, I'll put on my VPN because you need, if you're not just doing the, you know, the bare minimum, you know, you're up for grabs. Your data is up for grabs. Your bank's
Mhm.
up for grabs. Your, even if you don't think like even innocent things like uploading photos to the internet, not realizing that it has GPS information on it.
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, there's just so many things that people aren't aware of, that they don't think about, they don't want to think about. And
That's
the,
what it is. They don't want to think about them.
yeah, but the excuse of I'm going on a tirade, but the excuse of like I don't have anything to hide isn't valid. It's not valid because you don't, you, there are things that you would prefer people not have access to, i.e. your bank account,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You know, everyone has a bank account. Almost everyone I know is doing online banking of some
Mhm.
flavor. It's not like, oh, I'm not worried about somebody hacking my Bitcoin wallet. It's no, it's your bank. It's your
Mhm.
PNC or Chase account. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but
It's okay. That was all helpful information.
yeah, I mean, it's and that's kind of what it's about. But as far as advice, just general advice for people, I guess, and how to reach you, anything that you want to plug, you know, the floor is yours. I want to give you an opportunity to kind of say, hey, this is where I want you to go. Find me, do these things, give me money, whatever you want, fame, fortune, power.
Well, you can always find me on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And if you want to send me an email, you can go onto my LinkedIn and find my email. It's kind of long. It's DMantilia at identityprotectionplanning.com. That you can do, and you know, put something together if you want to have a chat for your organization or something along those lines.
Yeah, fantastic. And I will have links to not only your LinkedIn but also
Oh, good.
identityprotectionplanning.com in
Okay.
the show notes. So everyone that's listening to it on Spotify can just click there, and then wherever else it will be. But the majority of you guys listen on Spotify. Also in the show notes will be a link to some discounts on books made from Manning. If Dana, you ever wanted to write a book, I suggest going through Manning Publishing. I'm sure they would love for you to write a book for them one day. And if you would like to write a book, I always recommend Manning. They have helped sponsor me thus far. And with that, that concludes this interview. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk with me.
It was very nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Bye. So yeah, that is the podcast.
All right. That was good. So
Yeah.
listen, you got to tell me about this pineapple